G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here with a Neverwinter Nights 2 build video. I've been playing Neverwinter Nights 2 again a little bit lately, and I was looking for a build that would do a little bit more damage, melee damage. It really feels like, particularly early game with the stuff in Neverwinter, that the game feels like it encourages you to play melee a lot. Mostly because you get mobbed by huge groups of thugs. And it feels like the only way to get through that is to just start mowing down your opponents. And so I wanted a build that would do a lot of damage. And I did some research and I came up with this build. This is a fighter weapon master build that I'm calling Weapon Master Tony, as you can see here. I will have a link down in the description where you can see this build yourself if you want to go ahead and try it. So the purpose of this build is to build a character which does a lot of critical damage with their weapon. And that's the skill that, or the focus of what the Weapon Master Prestige class is. It has some nice feats in there, which I will be showing as we go through, that increase your chance to crit and increase the amount of damage you do when you crit. And it means that by the time you're done, you will be a critting machine. So let's have a look at the build. Now we have this level adjuster so we can see what we're doing at each level. Actually, let's start it off at level 3 in case you skipped the tutorial. So I'm building this as a human. I do a lot of my builds as humans because as humans you get 1 extra feat at first level and you get 4 extra skill points at first level and 1 extra skill point every level after that. So you can basically take 1 extra class skill, and you get 1 extra feat at first level. So our ability scores that I went for, we're going to start with a strength of 17, primary ability for a fighter. We are going to go for 13 dex. Now this 13 is a number that will pop up a lot when you read descriptions of feats. Any feat that is locked to an ability, so there are some feats like power attack which are locked to strength. There are some feats like dodge which are locked to dexterity. There are other feats like combat expertise which are linked to intelligence. Any of those, the minimum requirement is usually 13, and then if there are advanced versions of those feats, they might go to 15 and then 17 and then 19 or whatever. So we're going to get dexterity of 13 so that we can get any of those dexterity-based feats that we might like. Constitution of 14 gives us an extra couple of hit points per level. Now, as a fighter, you start with 10 hit points per level, which, is the best that you can start with, so you're going good there. But this will give us 12 hit points per level, which is nice. Intelligence, as I said, 13 gives us the ability to take any intelligence-based feats we want. It also gives us an extra skill point, so we can work with that. Wisdom at 10, no big deal. Charisma at 9. We have to do that to be able to get all the rest of the points here. Now, important thing to note about the strength of being 17. Normally, there's a lot of advice that says don't put your strength high or any of your primary attributes higher than 16 unless unless you get a bonus from your race. So, for example, an elf gets a bonus to dexterity. And half-orcs, for example, get a bonus to strength. So if I was playing this as a half-orc, they say, well, then it's okay because it costs you less to get that point that high, right? But if you do it, go to the odd number because it means you can get that next bonus because the bonuses appear at every even number. So in a couple of levels, when I get a chance to add another point to strength, that'll immediately go to a +4, right? So that's the better way to look at it. It costs me a lot. It costs me 3 points to go from 16 to 17. So I could have taken those 3 points and made my charisma 12 if I wanted to. Or bumped some of these. I could have bumped an extra 1 point to Dex to make it 14, which would have made it a +2. I could have got an extra point to Intelligence, making it +2. And I could have put 1 point into Charisma and making it 10, and that would be another way to do it. But I chose not to, partly because the extra point to Dexterity isn't going to help a huge amount. Most of the armors, the heavy armors in the game, allow you to have 0 or +1 Dexterity bonus added to them. Now, higher Dexterity bonuses are still useful in a fighter because you do have the touch-based armor class, but we're not going to worry about that for this build. So that's the reason why I've gone with the numbers that I did. 17 there means we'll go to 18 fairly quickly. It'll take a while for us to get to 20 to get to +5 after that, but we'll get to 18 in a few levels, and that'll be good. Okay. You can see here, because of our... the other choices here. Neutral good. Doesn't matter at all. Take whatever alignment you want, right? I'm just usually happy to play neutral good. Deity. Pick anything you want, including none if you want to. Now, Militia. I picked Militia because... I couldn't take Natural Leader because I didn't have Charisma of 10. Natural Leader, in a lot of ways, is a better option, as you can see here, because it gives you a +1 bonus to all of your companions' attack rolls, and you get a -1 on your save throws. And I love that ability. It means all of my companions are just that little bit better able to hit. I'm helping them, and I'm taking a minor hit to my save throws in the meantime. Right? But Militia gives me a bonus to parry, which is the main thing there, but it gives me a penalty to will save, which is a little bit of a thing. Now, I don't recommend using parry a huge amount, but we've got it there in case we need it, okay? And I'll talk more about that in a moment. So that's the background that I picked there. As far as skill points, we can take 4 skills. I chose Intimidate, Lore, Parry, and Taunt. Now, Intimidate is really only used in dialogue options in the game. So if you don't want it, don't take it. There is always a way to get around any of the dialogue options that require you to have things like Bluff, Intimidate, Diplomacy. Excuse me. So do not worry if you don't have them. That's all I'm going to say on that. I pick Law. I always pick Law because I hate having to spend... I'm a tightwad. I don't want to spend gold identifying something. And more importantly, when I find an item, I want to be able to use it then and there, straight away. I don't want to have to wait. And if I can't identify the item, I can't use it. If it's a magical item and I can't identify it, I can't use it until I then go and get somebody and pay the money to get them to identify it. So I've chucked Lore in there. We're not going to be great at it because we've got low intelligence, but each level will get a little bit better, and 90%, maybe even 75% of the things that we find, we will be able to identify. Having said that, I'm pretty sure when I did this test playthrough, there was a couple of weapons I couldn't identify that annoyed me a little bit, but that is as it is. Taunt is I'll talk parry in a sec. Let's just quickly do Taunt first. Taunt is an ability you can use in combat, and it is designed to make your opponents angry, of course, but it lowers their armor class by 2 points for the next round. The problem is that using the taunt takes your entire round. So you have to be willing. It's something that if there's a bit of distance between you and your opponents, try and do a taunt on the front opponent as he gets closer to you, and then you'll be able to attack afterwards. But if you're in the middle of combat and, for example, you're in the warehouse and you're surrounded by opponents and they're all wailing away at you and your hit points are going down and down and down, don't bother trying to taunt. You will die. So that is that. Parry. Parry is something that doesn't exist in the pen and paper games. It is added purely for the computer version of this game in the Neverwinter Nights 1 and 2. You won't see it in any other games. It was only added there. And it's the ability of you to be able to make... You're saying, I'm not going to attack at all in my round. All I'm going to do is attempt to parry the attacks that are coming in. And it makes a skill check. You use a parry skill check against the opponent's attack roll. And if your parry is higher than the attack roll, then you successfully parry. Basically, think of it like this. You're making an attack against your opponent's attack to block their weapon. If you manage to do that, you block the attack and you don't get damaged. Now, if you're being surrounded by multiple opponents, that means that you have to make multiple attacks per round. If there are more opponents than attacks that you can normally make, you get a negative on each successive attack roll that gets higher each time, each skill check that you make. So it becomes harder and harder for you to block more and more attacks when you are surrounded. The other thing to know is there is an ability, which we're not going to take, but there is an ability that you can take called Improved Parry, which gives you a +4 bonus to the parry skill. And if your parry... So normally, if the roll that you make to parry is 10 points higher than the attacker's roll, you can automatically riposte, which is attack back. When you have improved parry, that difference only has to be 5 points higher. So if you're going to do a parry build, and the Swashbuckler is the class to do that with, I may do a build on that if enough people recommend it, request it. But if you go down a parry build, you can get into combat and turn on parry, and then just sit there and wait for everybody to attack you, and then try and riposte back at them. And that's how you do damage. But, of course, you've got to be aware you're not going to be able to block every attack. The more people that are around you, the less chance that you're going to be able to block all of attacks. And you may miss with your riposte. Your riposte is a normal attack roll, so you could still miss when you try and attack back. It's a skill that I love the idea of, but because you have to turn it on and off, while it's turned on, the only way you can damage an opponent is if they attack you, you successfully parry with a high enough skill, with a high enough roll that you can riposte back. If they don't attack you, if you're standing in front of someone and that someone is attacking your companion next to you, you will do nothing for the round. So you have to then turn off parry so that next round you can attack that opponent. So it's super situational. It's no good when you're going against, well, it's not no good, but it's sort of pointless if you're going against one opponent, because unless you know that they are so much more skilled than you are and they're going to do a lot more damage to you than you are able to do to them, then one-on-one, it might be a good idea to parry. For example, in the end of chapter 2, I believe it is, where you have to fight Lorne one-on-one, you might decide to parry everything there and just rely on ripostes to do your damage to him if you think your parry skill is good enough to be able to block most of his attacks. That might be the one time you would want to use it. But this is not going to be a parry build. I just thought I'd explain that. This is not a parry build, but we've taken the skill so that we can use it when we do get surrounded. And I do recommend using it, but be careful with it, because if no one's actually attacking you, you'll sit there and do nothing. It's also not 100% effective, so there are going to be times when you're going to have to drink a potion or get someone to heal you. Drinking a potion, you won't be able to parry, so get somebody to heal you if you can. Anyway, let's go on to the feats. So at level 1, we get all of this stuff as a fighter, which is the standard sort of stuff. We can use tower shields, we can use all martial weapons, we can use normal shields, we can use heavy, medium, and light armor, and we can use simple weapons. What do we take as a fighter? Well, we get a bonus feat. And then we get the normal 2 feats that a fighter gets. So the 3 feats we're going to take is power attack, which I don't actually recommend using. It's okay, right? So power attack gives you a -3 penalty to attack to add +3 damage, which, here's the thing. At the start of the game, +3 to damage is massive, right? When you're only getting a single attack around and your weapon is doing like 1 to 8 or maybe 1 to 10, 1 to 12 damage at most, an extra 3 points of damage, guaranteed 3 points of damage, is really, really good. But the -3 to hit is really, really bad at first level, right? So I don't like power attack. I've never liked it, and I never turn it on. And this build will not be, well, we might take improved power attack later on, but not really going to use it. The only reason we want power attack is it gives us cleave. Now, cleave is the ability that if you attack and kill an opponent, you get a free attack at another opponent next to that's within range. Super, super useful. And if you normally have 2 attacks per round, it doesn't use up the extra attack. So if you hit and killed an opponent with your first attack, you would get a free attack at another opponent, and then you'd get your second attack. So super great. Really, really useful. And having it at first level means that if you do go through the tutorial, you've got cleave there, and it works with any weapon, including your fists or the club that you have to use in the fight in the tutorial. It's really nice. Super useful. Dodge. Improves your armor class against the last attacker or the first attacker who's attacking you, depending if your last attacker has died and you got 1 attacker. So it just improves your armor class a little bit. Really nice to have. Super useful. Mobility. This, I believe, mobility reduces our attacks of opportunity. So if you're moving through combat, if you move past an opponent, they get an attack of opportunity at you when you move past them. This gives you a bonus of +4 to your dodge. Really, really useful. It's also a requirement for becoming a weapon master. Both of these are. So that's why we're taking them. But taking them here nice and early, good. And so then level 4, we get the first ability point bonus. So we'll add that to strength. That'll give us, you can now see our strength is up to 18. It's going very nice. And level 4 is one of the few levels where you will not get a feat as a fighter. It's strange, but most levels you do. Level 5, oh, we don't get one at level 5 either. I thought we did. Anyway, level 5, we are not getting anything either. Level 6, we get 2 feats at level 6. I don't know why they did it this way, but anyway. We're going to take Spring Attack. So Spring Attack basically fixes mobility. Enemies no longer get attacks of opportunity when you're moving around them in combat. Why did we take mobility? Well, mobility is a prerequisite, so we had to take it. And then Whirlwind Attack. This is a nice skill, and it's really nice at the lower levels. So what it does, but it's not super, right? but it does work well for this build. So, and this is why we needed the intelligence of 13, and we needed combat expertise. Hang on a sec. I think I broke this build. We had to get combat expertise, and I think it was at level 5 or 4. I will fix that on the build before this video goes live, so that if you check this out yourself, you will get it. But yes, we had to get combat expertise, and for some reason it's not listed there, and I don't know why it's not listed here. But we had to get combat expertise to make this work because of the prerequisites. So you will take that at that level. This allows you to make a single attack. Well, no. You basically replace however many attacks you normally have in the round, and you make one melee attack at your full attack bonus against every opponent within 5 feet of you. So if you are surrounded by opponents, hit this button, the whirlwind attack, and it will attack everyone. Now, it doesn't guarantee to hit. It doesn't guarantee to crit, but it is wonderful. Okay? So that's where we're going with that. That is also the last of the prerequisites to become a weapon master. So now when we go to level 7, we're going to take our first level of weapon master. And I didn't mention before that we picked the weapon falchion, and I should have explained that. I'll explain it now. So we had to have weapon focus at level 1 in a weapon. Doesn't matter what it is, but falchion is the one we picked, and there's a reason for it. Falchion is a two-handed scimitar, and it has a attack. It has a crit range, so it does a little bit less damage than a normal two-handed sword. When you start the game, whether you start at level 1 or at level 3, when you start the main campaign, and the attack on the village starts at level 3 after you've done the tutorial or skipped the tutorial, as a fighter, you will be given the two-handed sword in the chest in your room. Use it, best weapon you can get, but as soon as you get to Fort Lock, you can buy a falchion, and I recommend doing that immediately because the falchion is a better weapon from a crit point of view. It does a little bit less damage. Okay, it does 2d4 of damage, which means 2 to 8 points of damage, rather than 1 to 10 that a greatsword does. However, it crits on an 18, 19, or 20 on your 1d20 roll, which means that you've got a 15% chance to crit anytime you roll to a hit, right? Now, a normal greatsword only crits on a 19 or 20, so it's a 10% chance. That's why we've picked the falchion. So even once you will probably be level 4 or 5 when you get to Fort Lock. I don't remember which it is. Up until that point, you have a 10% chance to crit. Now you've got a 15% chance. And the Weapon Master build will make that even better. So, I decided to just really quickly switch over to the editor of this build just to show you that it's actually at level 4 that we take combat expertise. It was already there. I don't know why it wasn't showing it on the display. So unfortunately, it's not going to show up properly. I don't understand why, but level 4, take combat expertise. Okay, I'll just exit out of that, and we will go back to. Damn it! It did that again. One sec. All right. So, actually, hang on. Let's just sit with that. All right. So we just talked about the falchion. We have to choose a weapon as a weapon master. You focus on a single weapon, and that weapon is going to be, of course, the falchion. You have to have weapon focus in the weapon of choice. And with that weapon, we get an ability called key damage. This allows us to, once per day, we can do maximum damage to our opponent. It's not all that great. I don't even really recommend using it because you're only going to be doing, 2 to 8 points of damage with it. So you're going to do 8 points of damage with that weapon. Yeah, it's fine. I don't think it works with it doesn't force your crits or anything like that to be maxed as well. I don't think it's just the base weapon damage. So yeah, it's all right, but that's not why we've taken the build. So at level 8, we will get another point of strength. So we will now be at 19 strength, not yet +5, but not far off. At level 9, we're going to get improved critical. We're going to take improved critical falchion. So this is going to increase the critical threat range. It's going to double the critical threat range. So this is where it gets interesting, right? Because it says here a longsword is 19 to 20, would become 17 to 20. Our falchion is 18 to 20. When we double that, it becomes 15 to 20. You're now looking at 25%, I believe. No, 30% chance to crit with that weapon. So that is really, really nice. We could have taken this earlier and delayed taking Weapon Master, but this is a good point for it. All right. We don't do anything at level 10. It's our 4th level of Weapon Master. 5th level of Weapon Master, we get 2 nice feats. So we get Superior Weapon Focus. We gain a +1, an extra +1 bonus to the attack roll with the weapon of choice. Nice, but not, super. And then we get increased multiplier. So this will increase the critical roll on our falchion by 1. So normally the falchion is multiplied ×2. This now becomes ×3. Really, really nice. So we're doing even more damage with the crits of our falchion. Now at level 12, our 6th level of Weapon Master, we're going to get 1 more point of strength. So we're finally +5 now. And we are also going to take Power Critical. Now, when you get a critical, so if you roll, in this case, 15 to 20 with your attack roll, you then have to make a second roll to confirm that you actually make that critical hit. And Power Critical gives you a bonus of +4 to that roll, that second roll, making it even easier for you to confirm that you have made a critical. So by this point, we can roll for crits 30% of the time, and we're going to be even better at actually confirming those crits. And rather than doing 2 times the damage, we're doing 3 times the damage of our crits. Really very nice. Level 13, our 7th level of Weapon Master, and I think our last, because this is the ability we've been waiting for, Key Critical. we gain an additional +2 to the threat range of our weapon of choice. So our weapon is now, actually, I don't think this stacks with improved critical. But I believe that it let me confirm this, hang on. Okay, so this does work with improved crit, but it's the order in which they're applied. So you don't add the +2 from this to the weapon and then double it as improved crit does. Instead, you double the range, so 18 to 20 becomes 15 to 20, and then you add +2 to it. So that would become 13 to 20 for a for our falchion. And so that is a 40% chance to crit every attack. So that is awesome. 40% chance to crit, triple damage when we do crit, and then power critical. You got to remember things like weapon focus, which gives you a +1 to attack, and superior weapon focus, which also gives you an extra +1 to attack. And I think the weapon choice, I don't know why that is not. No, the weapon choice doesn't give us a bonus as well. But these extra bonuses to attack from weapon focus and weapon choice also make it easier for us to confirm the critical hit. All right, so really easy to confirm critical hits. And just massive amounts of crit damage. You should be critting all over the place. And then if you can do a whirlwind attack, 40% of those whirlwind attacks should be critting. Now, don't come back to me and say, none of my whirlwind attacks are critting. That's just the way random numbers work. All right? Sometimes you will roll 3 crits in a row. Other times you will go 20 hits without a crit. Yeah, that's how things work. But on average, 40% of the time you should be critting. So now we're back to fighter levels. We don't get anything at level 14. Level 15, we're taking Great Cleave. Now, Great Cleave would have been nice earlier on, and if you're doing a pure fighter build without any of this, take Great Cleave as soon as you can get it, which I think is like level 3 or 4. For example, Kelgar starts, when you first meet him outside the Weeping Willow Inn, Kelgar has Great Cleave. And it is amazing from that point on, and you are only level 4 or 5 at that point. Have it as soon as you can get it if you're doing a normal fighter build, but for this build, that was the first time I wanted to take it because I needed all of this stuff to get our crits as good as possible. Weapon specialization just gives us a small... Great Cleave means that if you kill an opponent with a normal attack, you get a free attack at any opponent within range. If that kills the opponent, then you keep getting free attacks as long as every opponent that you hit dies. So theoretically, if you do a good enough hit against everyone around you, you could do a single attack and it would seem like a whirlwind attack and it would kill everybody around you with Great Cleave. I don't see it happen, but there are times when I have seen Kelgar take down 3 or 4 opponents. The single attack takes down the first, and then he takes down 2 or 3 other opponents with Great Cleave. So it is a really good feat to have, and if you can take it earlier, do so. But at this point, this is the earliest we can take it for this build if we want to focus on crits. Because you can crit while you Great Cleave. That's the beautiful thing. Weapon specialization does an extra 2 or 4 points of damage. Damn it, it's not scrolling down properly. Weapon specialization is a +2 to damage to your selected weapon. Not great, but there's nothing else that we need from a crit point of view, so let's just maximize our weapon damage as much as possible. Level 16, we get another point in strength, getting us to 21. Level 17, we're going to take greater weapon focus. That just gives us another +1 to hit with our falchion, which is really, really nice. Level 18, we're going to take toughness. Again, this is a feat that you usually want to take way, way earlier, but there's nothing else that we can take at this point that's really going to help us. But the extra hit points that we get from this, toughness gives you 1 extra hit point per level. Retroactive, so we're going to get our 10 hit points, our 12 hit points that we would normally get, because we get 10 hit points as a fighter +2 for our dexterity, our constitution bonus. So when we go from level 17 to level 18, we will get those 12 points, and then we'll get another 18 points on top of that, giving us a total of 30 extra hit points when we go up 1 level. Nice when you get it at that point, but it would have been useful to have those extra hit points. You won't get that many, but those extra hit points per level earlier on might have made us a little bit more survivable. But you're playing one of the most survivable classes in the game anyway. You can wear the really good armor. You'll be fine. Level 19, we're going to take greater weapon specialization, giving us another bonus to damage with the falchion. Again, there was nothing else around criticals that we needed to take. And at 20, we get our last point of strength bonus, taking us to 22 and +6. And that is our Weapon Master build. As I said, the link to view this build is down in the description. Have a look at it, see what you think of it. I hope you enjoyed this build and have fun critting your way through enemies in Neverwinter Nights 2. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you later. Bye. I'm not going to bother doing that again. I'm happy enough with it.